back. It is time for us to learn some of the fundamental best practices of SEO, or search engine optimization. Okay, so here's the deal. Every year, Google and the other search engines, but we don't care a whole lot about them, update their algorithms. And you can actually take a look at what Google decides is best practice for search engine optimization. Google wants to help you get your page to rank higher. So I've included a little link here, and let's pull it up in Chrome. It's a wonderful, constantly updated document called Get Your Website on Google. So basically what I'm going to go over today is a short version of what this document contains. So get on Google, Search Engine Optimization Starter Guide, and you should definitely read this, and you should definitely read it every year. So I'm going to distill some of that knowledge for you in this presentation. Okay, well, first of all, one of the biggest things that Google did starting around 2014 and continuing today is they changed their, actually they changed this a little bit earlier than that, they changed their search functions to look specifically for quality content. And by quality content, they mean meaningful content that is updated frequently. And we are talking images, updating your web pages, updating your place locations, updating videos, continuing to share on social media, how many people are searching for you via social media, how many people are searching for you via Google, and of course external media, that's even more important, and press that is covering you, your cause, or your website. But the number one thing that you as a web designer can do to help your client rank higher on Google is to give them quality content updated frequently. All right, now you may say to yourself, hey, I'm just a front-end web designer here. I'm not a copywriter. And that might be a good thing to say to your client too, but if you have some writing skills, first of all, that's an excellent skill set to add. You all have to take all of the English classes that you would ever need to write copy for Google, and websites and blogs and everything else. As digital media majors, you have to do that anyway. So I would say add writing to your skill set and charge your client for that. Meanwhile, we're going to look at what makes your page rank higher. All right, ranking higher is a combination of the content of your site and how your site is formatted and structured in HTML5. All right, so here are a few other basics. First of all, the longevity of your site does have something to do with it. So there's no way that you are going to start to rank higher organically in the search engines immediately. So you put up a website, you're going to start to share some social media, maybe you'll get some hits, but you're not going to get number 1, number 2, number 3, or number 4, or possibly even front page placement in Google until your site has some longevity. Okay, so when people search for books, they inevitably get Amazon first, not only because Amazon has been around a long time, but also because Amazon pays for ads. So, but longevity does have something to do with it. So be patient. Follow all of these rules, wait a while, and your site will start ranking higher and higher on Google organically, or without paying extra money for ads. All right, so Google now ranks your content on what they call its trustworthiness. So again, content is king, and what you want to be doing is handing out useful information, free articles, blogs, building authority, becoming an authority on your subject matter. So whatever you're doing your website on, you want to make sure that you are writing thoughtfully about it, because Google is actually reading what you write. Okay, so back in the day, people placed great emphasis on keywords, taglines, and key phrases, and that is still somewhat useful in SEO if they're used in context. So in other words, we don't want to keyword stuff or just give our audience a whole bunch of different non-contextual examples of keywords. Let's say our web page is about Arabian horses. Well, we want to write it so that the copy makes sense And we're going to talk more about that a little bit later. Okay, so use of the alt attribute in images. You already know that that's important to Google, and because not only is that useful for screen readers, the visually impaired, but Google itself is visually impaired. So they're using the alt attribute to crawl your site and see what your page is about. And finally, one thing to tell your client is that if they really need to rank higher faster, a combination of paid social media and free traffic is going to give them the most bang for their buck. So they may want to pay for some advertising, maybe, maybe not. Okay, so moving right along here, the first steps for on-page SEO or on-site SEO. The first thing we're going to talk about is how to structure your site so that you naturally give Google the information in a format that's easy for it to understand, crawl, and read. Okay, the title tag. Your pages should have a title, and the title is your most important on-site SEO because it tells the search engine what the page is about. So keep it simple and understand that search engines are looking first for your URL, the address of your website, and second for your title. So, for example, we're looking at my little yes and no examples here. So drlisasharp.com/portfolio is descriptive, but I don't want to bury my most important information, for example, my portfolio, into multiple layers within your website. So in other words, I don't want the most important information in the submenu. I want that right up in the nav as a simple descriptive title. So it's ranking whatever you put in the title tag. So my title might be Portfolio, Dr. Lisa Sharp. That might be my title. And once we actually get into where I'm showing my portfolio, we want to keep that URL simple. And that should probably be portfolio.html, quite honestly. Okay, next, Google looks for certain tags to identify important content. And this is nothing new. We've talked about this before. First of all, the search engine looks at the URL of your website. Then it looks at the title tag of that page to determine the overall content of that page. And it considers certain tags more important than others. So the heading tags, list items, and the alt attribute actually tell the search engine, hey, this is important information. So we want to use those tags to break up our content. Also, we've looked at the table header tag, the strong tag, important text that's bold, the M tag, emphasized text that is italicized, and of course the HTML5 specific tags, main, header, section, article, footer. All of those structural or semantic tags are extremely important so that Google knows what to look at first, what to look at next, and you're leading the search engine along the path that you want it to go. Here's a great example of what not to do. So here it is, an HTML5 site. I have a title. My title looks fine, History of the Lakota. And now I have my body tag. So I have a paragraph of text, and it's not marked up with any tags at all. So Google will read and crawl this text, but I'm not making it very easy for Google by pointing out what information is important. I also want to think about my audience. I mean, what information is my audience going to think is important? That is actually Google's main idea. So here's what not to do. Don't give me a big unformatted block of text. As a reader, I'm going to find that difficult to read, and as a search engine, I'm going to find that difficult to read. So think of the search engine almost as a person, and use headings, lists, and paragraphs to break up your copy. So this is the same text, but I have H1 here, the standoff. So Google's going to say, okay, that is the most important. Second, I have a P tag that talks about the initial United States contact with the Lakota Indians during the Lewis and Clark expedition. And then I have the second most important content, broken treaty. So again, I am calling out content that is important, and I'm giving those paragraphs titles that are tagged with the H1 and the H2 tag. In other words, this is number 1 in importance, H1. This is number 2 in importance, H2. Okay, and now I have a list. So my list, the Fort Laramie Treaty, is called out with an H2 tag. I probably could use a table here as well, but the unordered list actually is identified by Google as something that they are going to be looking for. So H2, the Fort Laramie Treaty, and I have an unordered list. Here are the 3 things that the Fort Laramie Treaty did. So we have a quote, "As long as the river flows and the eagle flies," and it talks about the treaty that was given to the Lakota in exchange for their land, essentially. Okay, so let's move back one slide here. All of that information I have now broken up into headings, paragraphs, and a list. This is easier for the reader to understand, and it is also much easier for the search engine to understand because we've told it point blank, hey, this is what's important on our page. Okay, let's add another thing. So we're going to add an image. Okay, the title of my page is History of the Lakota. Again, very, very descriptive. I have my body tag, and in front of the standoff, I have an image tag. So Google is looking for content, and my image is called out Lakota Teepee as my alt attribute. So I'm telling Google, here's an image and here's what's in the image. And then I'm calling out the rest of the content. I'm breaking it up using headings and lists. Now here's another thing we haven't talked about. In your head tag, in addition to your links to style sheets, Google Fonts, and all that other good stuff, we are going to put a meta name description into our website. On each page, we want a description of what that page contains, so a summary. This is what is going to end up showing up on the search engine. So our meta description, this site examines the history of the relationship between the Lakota Sioux tribe, hey, I misspelled that, and the United States government. Okay, so that's my meta description. That is in the head tag, and other things that go in the head tag, of course, are our style sheets, our Google Fonts, and our other good stuff. But our meta tags will end up being one of the things that come up first when a search engine is crawling your site. Oh, hey, they're giving us a summary of what this site is about. Great. Finally, we want to write for people, not search engines. So remember, I asked you to think about Google as a person. So don't write for Google, write for people. If I want to know about the Lakota Sioux Indians or Native American tribe, I want to come to the site and I'm looking for trustworthy, relevant content. So ultimately, no matter what, if I have trustworthy, relevant, clear, well-cited content, I am going to generate more traffic because people are interested in that subject. Okay, so of course, social sharing is important. So when we work with WordPress, that's going to be very, very easy for us. We can also build in links on our 4-page website to share our content and cross-post on Facebook, LinkedIn, Reddit, and Instagram, and Twitter, and whatever else you want, and encourage people to share your content. See how many shares you can get. So you all know about social media, and I probably don't need to tell you that that's pretty important, but all of that will generate more traffic to your site, which will generate a higher ranking in Google. Okay, so let's talk about on and off page or on and off site SEO. So on-page SEO is what you do as a web designer. So in other words, structuring your site correctly using HTML5, using your content in a correct way by breaking up well-written content with nice images, using lists, using headers, etc., etc. – And then there's off-page SEO. Allowing reviews or comments, even bad ones, will give you a higher ranking because Google highly values what other people have to say about your site. All publicity is good publicity. So when we're in WordPress, we're going to be able to easily allow for reviews and comments, and all of those social sharing, all the social sharing that you do, make people want to share that site, want to share that page. So the more people share your content, the more Google is going to see it as important. If you allow reader comments and reviews, that is going to make Google see it as important. And once they start to visit it frequently or even link to it, that's the best, that is going to help your site rank higher naturally on Google. Well, how the heck do you know how you're doing? There is a wonderful tool which used to be free. Sadly, it's no longer free anymore, and it's called Google Analytics. So once you get out of college and you start designing websites for your clients, you are able to tell your client, guess what? Here's how your website is doing. You'll be able to monitor and report back to your clients, and I would suggest a monthly report, and you can charge for this. So that's even better. So your path to profitability in web design is not just on the front end, designing the site, but also hosting the site, creating a blog post for the site, updating the site, and also providing analytics to the client. So there are many streams of income to be had from one website. All right, let's take a quick look at the inside here, Google Analytics. All right, this is the dashboard or overview view, and I'm going to show you that live in a minute. So there's a lot that we can glean just from this page. So this website is here are the number of hits it got over up the course of about a week. Okay, so you can graphically see the traffic, what times traffic was higher, what days traffic was higher, when we had a traffic spike. So during that week, to this client's website, 222 people visited the website. Well, there were 222 visits by 185 unique people. So people came more than once. And those people viewed 543 pages. So that's good news, right? That's pretty good. They looked at an average of 2.5 pages, and now we come to the not so good news. Their average time on each page was only 2 minutes and 29 seconds. So that means they're not reading. Finally, their bounce rate. Okay, this is a new term to us. Bounce rate means that you come to the website and it's of no interest to you, so you just go somewhere else. You bounce right out. So Google heavily weights your bounce rate when it's looking at how highly it's going to rate your site. So this site has a bounce rate of 62.16% for that week. That is not a good rate. So what I would advise my client to do is start to update their site with more quality content and start to share it on social media. That will make their bounce rate go down because the people are going to the site. 222 visits, 185 unique visitors in a week, 543 pages, but they're not reading. They're bouncing right out. They don't see that as quality content. Google takes a good look at this. After all, Google's generating this data, and they're saying, well, this website obviously isn't very trustworthy or very interesting because people aren't spending any time and they're just bouncing right out and going to other sources. So the client needs better quality content. Also, the number of new visitors, you'd think 78% new visitors could work for or against you. Well, new traffic is important, but the more times an individual goes back to your site, the better that site is going to rank in Google. Okay, now, unfortunately, the news for this site, this is one of my former clients, and I get a little charge out of this. It's really kind of bad of me, honestly. Here is the client's analytics. I actually fired this client because this client was really difficult to work with. So this is the client's traffic from September 17th, 2016, when I originally took that screenshot, to September 13th, today, 2018. So During that entire 2-year period, his stats went way down. So this client is not paying attention to the quality of their site, their traffic, their users. In a year, 228 new users, that's pretty decent. 366 individual sessions. The page rate per session is about the same. But look, actually, the amount of time they spent on the site went down. Now the bounce rate went down as well, but we are talking about a year rather than a week. So that statistic doesn't mean a whole lot. All right, so there are many, many things that we can do with Google Analytics that are really cool. And so this is our audience overview page. The user explorer is pretty interesting. Okay, so there's one person, of course they don't identify that person except by their IP address, came to the site 66 times and they account for 18% of all traffic. You know what? I bet you I know who that person is. Who do you think is the most interested in that website's content? Probably the person designing and updating the website. So other than that, our users are few and far between. So we can look at their demographics. What type of technology they're using, their behavior, their interests. And one thing, okay, so technology is kind of interesting. How many people are accessing this on a mobile device? Let's take a look. Okay, lots and lots of people were accessing that device in 2017, accessing via a mobile device, and then things just started to go downhill quickly. So this website probably needs a serious overhaul, and it probably needs some updating and social sharing. Okay, let's take a look at this, user flow. Okay, again, we could go on all day just on analytics, but we're going for simplifying. So we have 135 users coming from Russia, and most of the time they're starting on / means that they start at the home page. What are those 137 people doing in Russia? You know what? I bet you they're trying to hack the site. Because look, they don't click through, they just drop off. Okay, from the United States, we had 94 people come from a share button on someone else's site. So again, there's many, many things that we can look at. Let's look at their behavior flow. Okay, so 175 people went to the landing page, and 148 people came through another website. But direct traffic is few and far between. Okay, so let's go back and let's look at our home screen. And this is today, so this is pretty bad. The person has 0 websites. There's nobody on their website right now. Poor man. Okay, but we're going to go back to our overview. And so we can see over that year's time, if we look at the last week, we're going to get a different set of statistics. Actually, we're still going September 7th through September 13th, so I have to change that date range. So the nice thing is I can change the date range to be whatever I want. So let's say I hadn't fired this client and I was interested in working with this client again, which I'm not. I would go to the client and say, you know what, your website traffic has really dropped off. Take a look at these analytics and let's see what we can't do to get your site off on a better footing. We need to add some content. We need you to be up to date on all of your social sharing. We need new quality content written. We need it marked up using certain HTML tags so that Google sees it as more important. And so you can tell the client all of the stuff that we are looking at in this PowerPoint. And that will help them rank higher over time. Okay, there have been analyses of what increased your odds of appearing on page 1 of any search engine. Look at this. Number 1, content. Fresh, authoritative, engaging content that is responsive, Okay, in other words, it's using responsive design, which we're doing. It has to be mobile friendly because where are we browsing the web these days? On our mobile devices and our phone. And it has to be quality content, including video and images. So we need to, again, I'm sorry that I keep beating this into you, but quality content, video, pictures, updated frequently, shared on social media. Hopefully people are sharing it again. That's number one. So this is increasing your odds by 2 to 3 times if we combine all 3 of these. Okay, so in addition to content, if we combine that with the site's architecture, it loads quickly, it's mobile friendly, we have our site structured exactly like I talked about in the early part of this PowerPoint. Again, that's increasing our odds of ranking on page 1. And then some of the things that are off page. The longevity, well, this is not off page, but it's out of our control. The history or the longevity of the site. The reputation of the site, is it trustworthy? And how much social sharing and user interaction you get on the site. So Amazon, for example, allows reviews, and they don't delete the bad reviews because all publicity is good publicity, and everything, and they know, as does any large website that's trying to sell you something, that this combination of 3 heavy hitters is going to increase their odds of organically ranking on page 1 of a search engine. All right, there also have been studies done on what decrease your odds of getting on a search engine. Thin content. Thin means, at the absolute worst, it might be dummy text. It might be just a couple of sentences instead of paragraphs. A high bounce rate, which we talked about. Low audience engagement, which we talked about. Too many ads. Boy, that's a typo there. Too many ads on the site will definitely make you rank lower. And cloaking or masking a site's title or page titles. Now, we will get into cloaking when we get into WordPress. So masking the site's title or name is a signal to Google, hey, these people are trying to do something fishy. Okay, and also excessive use of the same word or words. All right, so I'm not going to read this. I know that you can read. Content, content, content. Let's talk about good and bad copy. Okay, let's read the bad, low-ranking copy. Stacy's Shoes is a complete running store with a large selection, for a Pittsburgh running store, of the latest running shoes for men and women right here at our running store. We offer discount running shoes at our running store. And great sales. We are the tennis and running shoe store, period. Now, not only is that irritating to read, but Google is looking at that and seeing the number of times that we repeat the word running store and saying, boy, either these people are just terrible writers or they're trying this outdated practice called keyword stuffing. Keyword stuffing means you use the same word over and over again. Okay, so here's a much better example of running copy. Stacy's Shoes is a complete running store with a large selection of the latest running shoes for men and women. We offer discount running shoes and great sales. We are the tennis and running shoe destination in Pittsburgh. Okay, so that's much better. It's more meaningful SEO copy. They're still using the word running store. They're using running shoes. And but we're not overusing them. Okay, so later on we'll talk about where to put your keywords. So the keyword here is running store, but we'll talk about how to select keywords and where to place them when we get into WordPress. WordPress makes that very easy for us. Okay, so I actually think I've already covered this. Content, content, content. But one thing that we need to do is use Google's related search. So when we talk about good and bad copy with Stacy's Shoes, let's go to Google here for a second and let's look up running store. Oh, let's spell it right. That would be good. Okay, well, we don't have a lot of those near Greenville. It's giving us a large number of running stores, but it's also giving us related searches. Running store and running shoes go together. And so let's see what we get out of running store. Let's see what we get out of running shoes. Let's look at the related searches there. Running shoes brands, best running shoes. So these are key phrases that we can incorporate into our copy. So let's go back to the PowerPoint here for a second. Instead of the latest running shoes, people are searching for the best running shoes. Do you see how that works? Here I am in Google, and best running shoes came up as a frequent search item. And then it talks about brands. All right, let's go back and incorporate that. So back to our PowerPoint here. Best running shoes for men and women. We offer discount running shoes, comma, a variety of running shoe brands, comma, and great sales. I wonder what running shoe sales gives us in Google. Let's find out. Running shoes sale. Women's running shoes sale, running shoes clearance, cheapest running shoes, cheap women's running shoes, discount running shoes. I think I can use that. Let's go back. And discount running shoes. I may be using running shoes too much now. Oh, you know what? I already have it in there. Discount running shoes and a variety of running shoe brands. So I am taking that out. We are the tennis and running shoe destination in Pittsburgh. Okay, so now we have copy that we used Google's related search to suggest keywords. That's stuff that people are already looking for online. So we'd be super dumb not to use it, right? We want to be smart, and we want to rank higher in the search engines by writing our copy in an intelligent way based on what people are already searching for. So here are searches related to SEO copywriting. Okay, so I'm going to close for now, but those are some SEO best practices. And again, I want to direct you to the Bible of Search Engine Optimization right here on Google, the Search Engine Optimization Starter Guide. So enjoy, have fun writing your SEO copy and structuring your website correctly so that you rank higher on search engines and your clients will thank you and pay you. Bye for now.